So there's two areas. We have choreography and music. Those are the main challenges if you are designing a freestyle in your own backyard. Okay. So we're going to start with choreography. So the most common problem is that your arena is not the right size, right? It's either too big or it's too small. So if your arena's too large, like say you have a big grass pasture or you have a big jump arena, of course, that is a lot easier to deal with because you can set up your own size arena in a larger space. Now, a kind of a cool thing I saw some riders do at Briarfest this last year is they created their own arena perimeter out of rope, and it was attached to these little PVC corners, like I think for plumbing, right? So if you're a plumber, you have the little attachments, right? So the rope went through these corners, and they had it um, all measured out, but it went through these things. So basically, it just took two or three people on the ground to drag out their arena, and then they had the correct size, and they used that on the floor to judge where they were going because they have to get in and ride quickly. Now, if you are riding in a space that you're not allowed to set up a dressage arena, it's really annoying every time to have to put your cones up or have to measure, so try to make it really simple. Like measure out the rope in the length of the arena, measure out the rope on the short side. You may not want to keep it connected because you don't want to, for safety reasons, you don't want your horse to drag its foot and pull the arena with you, of course, right? But you can create something that you can put visually on the ground and then use cones for your corners. And so just so you can set it up quickly when you need to set it up. Okay. And also you can just use poles, bring jump poles in from the side if your arena's too wide, as same if your arena's too long. But sometimes your arena will be okay on the length and not on the width. So that's where it can get a little tricky. Now, if your arena's too small, and like I said, if your arena is too short, but the width is okay, you're going to have one set of problems as far as like diagonals, center lines, the long movements. And then if your arena's not wide enough, then you're going to have problems with circles, especially at lower level, like training level, where if you don't actually have a 20-meter size circle, that's going to be a little tricky for timing. So if your arena is really, really small, you can still create choreography, but what you really need to do is you have to trailer to use a proper size arena a few times at least. Like, but what you're going to do is you can get a lot of stuff accomplished before you trailer to someone's place, okay? So either do it first, go to an arena, and what I want you to do is ride either just a dressage test or at least all the movements and have someone video you. Okay. It's very important. Video everything if you can. Okay. Because it's not worth it to go all the way there and not video because there's so much you can do later with the video. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to ride all your movements and also take video of yourself riding around the arena, on the rail, in the walk, regular walk, free walk, collected trot or working trot, lengthened trot on the diagonal and on the long sides. What you're going to do is you're going to use your video to time your movements. Now, this can get a little technical, and I have a handout that I'm going to include in the comment section below so that you can have kind of a worksheet to get an idea. So what you're going to do is later on, you're going to use your video to time each movement so you can create music and choreography without the right size arena. Okay, so this is an example. Let's see if I can get it to show up. Okay, so you want your basics, like say you just want your basics of the short side in the walk, trot, and canter. And that's H to C to M. So you're going to time it and say it takes you 10 seconds. I'm not like off top of my head. We're just going to pretend. So you would put in like how long it takes you for each of those, how long it takes you to go down the long side, and also you can do corners, and then you're going to do all your movements in the walk, free walk, diagonals, list what this one also gives you a space at the bottom so you can put in your own movements, okay? Because each level is different. So this is just kind of a guideline to get you started. But say you're doing second level, you're going to ride shoulder in, haunches in, counter canter in the movements that you want to do. So once you have your list of all your timing, you can draw on your paper, you can draw 20-meter circle to a diagonal and then canter down the long side, circle, and each movement will have that amount of seconds per movement, and you can add it up. So when you actually put the music into your editing program, you know how long it takes to do a circle, how long it takes to do the diagonal, and so far. It takes a lot more time, but it only requires you to ride your horse one time, get video, do all the timing, and you can actually create your choreography and your music so that next time you are able to trailer to an arena, you are able to actually run through your first draft of your choreography and your first draft of your music. So that's one way if you're really good at technical stuff, that's great. Now, I am not like that. That is not something I like to do myself, but that is one technique. For me, I'm more of like, I want to be creative and have fun. So, one thing that we used to do a lot when I was younger is actually draw an arena in the sand and run it ourselves. So, it's a very good exercise. But what you want to do is from that video of your horse in the correct size arena, you want to write down how many strides your horse takes. So, say you canter down the long side, count how many strides it takes for your horse. And then you go ahead, make a marker, and you canter that amount of strides down the long side and then put down a marker. So, you're going to create your arena in the sand based on your horse's number of strides. So, it's not going to be perfect. This is kind of like just a great way to hash out choreography ideas and get a sense of, ooh, I don't know if my horse can really do this move into that move into that move. Like that's a little complicated. So that's another way to do it. We used to do it with quadrilles all the time because we don't want to get our horses frustrated or tired or have to tack up and put them away and do it days and days and days to like figure out movements. So, hey, Marsha. That's my good bestie, Miss Marsha, joining us. Okay, so what I was just saying with that hashing out your choreography, that's really fun, especially for young kids who are learning freestyle and they're trying to figure out their choreography. Try that method to just get your basics of your choreography started instead of trying to ride your horse for hours and hours and hours. Okay, so that's another method you can use if you don't have the ability to have a correct size arena. Um, okay, so let's see. The other important thing with choreography is that you want to work in a lot of movements that give you leeway. Okay, so like if your arena is actually too short, then when you go to a horse show, you're actually going to you can if you're you can just cut off the end of the arena. Like say you turn it H instead of go into the corner. And the judge won't really know. They'll just think you're, on purpose trying to be a little interesting with your choreography. It's just like using quarter lines is a way to catch up to your music. Most likely, you're probably going to get ahead of your music. Most people get ahead because the horses are faster at a horse show, and and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm like way ahead of my music." So you have to think ahead. Like if I think I'm going to get ahead of my music, let me give myself like in the walk or in the trot like a long diagonal that I can cut shorter if I need to, but or I can go longer if I need to catch up on my timing. So when you don't have the correct size arena, it's really, really important that you do put in those movements because they're going to be really helpful if you don't have a lot of time to practice in the correct size. And this is if your arena's off just by like a few feet here and there. It makes it, a little, gives you wiggle room. So quarter lines, center lines, diagonals can be adjusted short to long easily. Don't feel bad cutting your corners. That's okay. You can even add circles if you need to, if you're ahead of your music, but only add circles if you're doing like first level or above. You can't add a small circle in training level. Training level is a little tricky because it's just a lot of 20-meter circles. So you're going to use your diagonals, and a lot of time in the walk is where you can make up or get ahead of time. Okay, so we have Teresa asked a question. Oh no, she made a comment. She said, for quick setup, I laid out my measuring tape and counted down how many of my own steps equals the meters, and then walk it out to time and set the markers and letters. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Like, I use my horse's stride just because, like, a small horse may get have like so many more strides in the short side than a bigger horse. You're going to get ahead or behind. You might actually be talking about more just making your arena, which is great. Like, anything you can do to quickly set up your arena in a large space, you can practice your choreography. And then Ashley Jane says, I show online for 100% of my shows because I live in cowboy rodeo country. I'm lucky my playpen is a show pen. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah. And actually, some of the online shows will let you, like, they may not actually know that your arena is just a smidge off. So sometimes you can get away with an arena that's not quite right. I've ridden in a lot of rings that are too long and not quite the right width because they were more for like driving horses or jumpers. It's a little different sometimes. But you can always ask management, but that's a great way to do it, except when you show your competition freestyle in an online show. If your arena is not perfect, then of course when you go to a real in-person show, you're going to have to make the adjustments. Now, we can keep talking about choreography, of course, but I would like to go on to, let's see, we talked about the time method, watch your video. Um, and I will include the time your movements paper, this PDF document. I'll put a link into the comments afterwards so that you guys can download it and play with. They'll just give you a good idea how to use it. If you really get frustrated or confused, you can always email or message me. It's no big deal. So when you go to, let's see, I had to make a lot of notes so I didn't forget anything. Oh, the other thing you can do is, if you can't get to an arena, just use old show videos. If you have any, like from the previous year, even if your horse is a higher level now, you can use that in the timing method to just get a basic of your choreography started, so that then when you go to an arena, you can try it all as one. And even if you create your choreography and you love your choreography and you're in the wrong size arena, what you're going to do is you can practice your choreography over and over and over again. But once you edit the music, I wouldn't necessarily practice to the music because you're going to be way off. Is just practice your choreography, and then what you're going to do is actually overlay your music to your video of you riding in a correct arena, and watch that over and over and over again so that you can learn your transition cues and get the feeling of the music in your muscles so that you know when you're in the show ring how it feels. But I want you to just don't get confused, and don't try to match your music if the ring's not right, because it will change when you get into the show arena. But you can still practice your choreography and everything. Okay, so now we're going to go on to music challenges, which is not as big of a deal because nowadays we have smartphones and we have, internet and wireless things. But way back, we just had CD players, and we had boom boxes. I was from them. So CDs, trying to play it so it's loud enough. So the one thing we used to use when we were really desperate, if you are using CDs to play music, would be a car. Is park your truck or car right by the arena. Some shows will actually do this in a pinch if they don't actually have a sound system. So you can use your car to practice if you're in a field and you don't have good internet, you don't have good Wi-Fi. If you haven't created your music yet, you may only be listening to ideas of music. As I use Spotify all the time. Like, it's an online app. If you don't know it, it's a music app that you can save music from everywhere. And basically I make playlists. So I'll have a walk playlist, a trot and a canter, or I'll save a playlist for a specific horse. So when I'm riding that horse, I'll flip through and I'll press play on the walk playlist and I'll just like ride through all the songs. And then I kind of say, oh, yeah, this one feels really good, or I don't really like that one. So then I know how to like narrow it down. If you're kind of going with a lot of different choices, use Spotify. It's great, but you're going to have to use the paid version, which I think is like 9.99 or 11.99. So that way you can skip through and save and uh, what was I going to say? Not have ads like Pandora and stuff. They have ads and things like that. So you can there's different different apps you can use, but Spotify has been the best as I know for freestyle designers. So you can use that to find your music. Now, once you edit your music, if you have a first draft, what you want to do in GarageBand or Audacity when you create your track for your music, add in a buffer at the beginning, because the most annoying part, and I forget myself, is when you press play, you're like, you got to have time to put it in your pocket, right? Your cell phone. If you're playing it in your cell phone from your vest or in your earbuds, I think you can play from an Apple Watch. I just got an Apple Watch, so I'm not really sure if anyone's tried that. I don't know if it actually is loud enough or not. But they also have the wireless speakers. I like the Wonder Boom. It's like this little like round thing. So the wireless speakers are great now, so you can really actually hear them, which is awesome. But so give yourself a buffer so that like when you press play, because if you're alone riding by yourself, you don't have someone to press it for you. So press play, go line up where you're going to be outside, and it gives you time to then go ahead and come down your center line. Now, once the music's over, I would also give yourself a big gap, put it on there again, like 2 or 3 times. So you're going to have one track that's basically like 15 minutes long, and that's going to help you practice. And this you can do, of course, in any, backyard or not. But it's just a really good way to practice doing your freestyle without having to like constantly stop, constantly play. Like if you're getting to the end and you're getting off course, just take a break and wait and then get set up so that you're ready to go the next time. So that's just a little tip when you're editing, is just to have it multiple times. It's really helpful. Let's see here. Okay, do you guys have any? Okay, Ashley says, when do you usually start? When is the right time to start your music? Do you start it at A, or should it start before A? Before my test, I'll come up the long side, do a 50-meter circle or so to get the rhythm, and then enter at A. What's common? Okay, so you're talking about centerline music. Do you start it at A? Was the right time to start your music? Well, basically, I mean, you have your entrance. Everyone can start. You can start different places. So you have a certain amount of time to get in the arena. Your entrance music, I think it's still 45 seconds. Don't shoot me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I get the numbers wrong. I have to double check. Always double check before sometimes they change rules. So say you have 30 to 45 seconds, right? So your entrance, you can enter from right out before A and then go all the way up the center line, or you can start at E or V and come up the center line. So you just have to stay within the parameters of the entrance music, the required amount of time to come in. So you definitely start on either side. You can also enter from the left or the right, depending on the show. So it's a little bit personal preference. I've done freestyles where I've just walked in, but I had walk music. And then I've also done ones where I've trotted or cantered from further up, because you want to use that time to get your horse going and get your horse straight, or like show off to the judge. You might have amazing entrance music and you want to be super dramatic. I've also used transitions in my entrance music, which I think is kind of fun. It's different, it's interesting. If your music goes from like especially canter music, usually there's a little bit before that will be the walk, so you can walk and then pick up the canter, come up the center line if you're doing an upper level test. If you're doing a lower level, you can walk to trot. And that's just kind of like a little interesting. It helps your horse get going, because usually what you'll see is people are nervous, especially at lower levels, and they'll be outside the ring and then they're like, oh my God, I gotta get going. And then they like pick up the trot and the horse is like, oh my God. So sometimes it's good to have like something that starts a little slow and then you can have a transition and then trot in. So it's not boring, but it just helps you and your horse be smooth because you're trying to set the tone for the freestyle at the very beginning. Oh, good. Teresa said, I did that. Loop the track several times. It's so simple. A lot of stuff with freestyle, it's really simple stuff. It's just, you know, just got to work on it and keep doing it. I mean, I don't know how many times I've actually had choreography or music and then I've like completely changed the music halfway through, to a different theme, or you get frustrated and you can't find the right song, or I don't know. It's an artistic journey is what I have to say about that. So, people who aren't artsy or don't like that kind of thing, it can get a little frustrating. But there might be certain aspects of the routine that you really like doing, the more technical stuff, the choreography, drawing your floor plan. And some people find that really fun. So, look for friends that like to do the other part. Someone likes to pick out music and you like to draw your choreography, like just have some fun with it. So I think we also had someone ask a question about using lyrics. I did answer her in the comments, but I love using like fun lyric kind of things for like entrance or endings of freestyles. And if you're going to use lyrics in the like during your freestyle, I wouldn't overpower everything. Like if you're using lyrics in one song, don't use it generally in all of the songs unless it's the same genre and you can edit it smoothly. Usually the hardest part with lyrics is editing because the phrases, the chorus lines, you got to find a spot where it fades out. You don't want to just chop it up. You have to make it make sense. So mixing it with instrumentals helps you be able to edit more smoothly. So do you guys have any other questions specifically about riding for backyard riders? I don't want these videos to be too long because I want people to be able to kind of like, be able to consume them quickly. So I don't want to go too much longer. I was thinking somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, can you explain the ride it backwards tip to help find entrance spot or other transitions? Ride it backwards. To help find entrance spot or um do you mean there's a couple things I'm thinking you might mean. Like say you want to be you want to halt at X, but your music you're gonna go ahead and just like turn around. So if you're not sure where to start, like instead of halted towards the judge, halt facing the back and then start and trot or walk, ride your center line the opposite direction to find out where it ends. So then you'll know exactly where to turn around and start when your music starts. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you mean, but that's, a way that you can figure out how long your entrance is going to be and exactly where you need to start from the beginning. Um, Ride it backwards to help entrance spot or other transition. Yeah, I think that's what you mean. Um, uh, you might need to, okay, yes, turn around and start the music. Yeah, okay. Yeah, another good simple tip. I actually never really like thought of that before and I was like, I guess that's what she means. I'm not really sure. One little tip I do have, which isn't really so much related to this, but when you're looking for entrance and final music, what I like to do is listen to the ends of songs. So a lot of people will listen to the beginnings of songs and like, oh, well, that sounds like a good entrance, or oh, that's too slow. I'm not really sure. But if you zoom to the end of the song, usually the last 30 to 40 seconds, it will have like its own ending. And the ending part is usually sometimes a great halt salute for the ending of your ride. Or you can take that clip and use it as your entrance. You just fade in, and then the ending of that song would be your first halt salute. So I always listen, I zoom ahead and I listen to the ends of songs to find good entrance and exit or ending music. So it's not always at the beginning. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Yeah, trainer told me that recently. Cool, that's great. Yeah, I definitely appreciate, Teresa, you've been very active in the group and sharing your videos. It's awesome. Like I just want to, help people really do these freestyles as best as they can. And if you get stuck and you have a problem, just post in the group. It's everyone's super helpful, and I try to monitor every day, just to make sure that everything is going positive and everyone's having a lot of fun with this.